She came home with swollen skin and smug eyes. The artist said the placement was perfect, she smiled, lifting her shirt just enough to show the fresh ink above her hip. Bold, black, permanent. It read, Troy. Not my name. I watched her twirl around like a teenager, admiring herself in the hallway mirror. The way she stretched her back, brushing her fingers over the bandaged letters, it made me realize something chilling. My name is Walter Whitaker. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever poured your soul into someone, only to realize you were just the wallpaper in their life? Always there, never noticed? I didn't raise her for this. I didn't work overtime in the rain, patching roofs with frozen hands and broken knees, just to watch her idolize a man who couldn't spell commitment if you handed him a dictionary. But I said nothing. You don't like it? She asked, tilting her head. I gave a small nod. I respect your autonomy. She smiled, like that meant she'd won something. Like the war was over, and her body was the trophy. But I had my own kind of freedom too. So while she was still at the tattoo parlor, beaming under fluorescent lights, I packed up everything I owned. My books, my records, the tools I used to fix her bike when she was 8, even the framed photo of us from her graduation, the one she tossed in a drawer last year. By the time she returned, the apartment echoed. No note, no warning, just quiet. Because when someone carves out your absence with pride, you don't wait for permission to leave. You simply disappear and let the silence introduce itself. I didn't leave her a message. I didn't slam the door. I just folded my shirts into a small duffel, unplugged the coffee maker she never cleaned, and walked out like smoke from a room. No trace, no smell, no fire. That first night, I slept in my truck. Back seat. Windows cracked. Cold air doesn't bother you much when your chest's already frozen. The next morning, I had 5 missed calls. By lunch, 8 more. She never called me Dad unless she wanted something. And now, I was Daddy in every voicemail. Like that word still held weight after she etched someone else's name into her skin. I drove to a quiet town 40 miles out. Rented a cheap room by the train tracks. Peeling wallpaper, no hot water. But peace? Peace rang louder than ever. She kept texting. Where are you? Are you okay? Why are you doing this? But see, that's the part that breaks you. They never ask those questions when you're still there. They wait until you're gone. And then suddenly, your silence becomes a mystery worth solving. She posted online that week. Some polished caption with a blurry photo of herself in sunlight. Sparkles learning to love myself. Letting go of the past. If they leave, let them. Sparkles. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because she was quoting wisdom she hadn't earned. There's a difference between letting someone go and never learning how to hold them in the first place. She thought I'd be back by Sunday. She didn't know I'd already canceled my part of the lease, cleared out the joint account, and cut the key I'd given her, the last thing tying me to that place. She had her freedom. Now she had her silence. And in that silence, she'd hear every apology she never said. The apartment didn't look like much when I left it. Just a skeleton of what once held warmth. A few crumbs in the corners. A ghost of my cologne in the hallway. But to her, it was suddenly everything. She called again on the 5th day. Are you seriously going to ignore me forever? I was sitting outside a laundromat, watching a father teach his daughter how to fold a t-shirt. His hands gentle, her laugh messy and bright. I could have wept, but I didn't. I let the phone ring until her voice melted into static. Once, she had called me her rock. Now, I was an inconvenience to her healing. I heard through a mutual friend that she'd moved in with a coworker, some girl with a loft and a rescued cat. She told people I was on a soul-searching journey. Let them believe that, because there's dignity in silence, and power in letting people explain your absence however they need to. I wasn't searching. I had already found it. The painful, glowing truth. You can raise someone, feed them, clothe them, listen to their heartbreaks, and still end up a footnote in the book they write about becoming free. That weekend, she tried one last time. She waited outside the hardware store I used to visit every Saturday. I saw her from inside, standing by the exit. No makeup, hair tied back, hoodie with sleeves too long. For a second, she looked 5 years old again, like the girl who used to crawl into my lap during thunderstorms. When I walked past, she opened her mouth to speak, but I didn't stop. I kept walking. And in that moment, she didn't cry. She didn't call after me. She just stood there, arms folded, staring at the man who used to fix everything, now choosing not to fix her. Sometimes love looks like holding on, but sometimes it looks like walking by the fire, without throwing yourself in to save what wanted to burn. I never told her where I went, not out of spite, but because she never asked where I came from. Years of sacrifice. Meals skipped so she could eat better. Late nights waiting outside recitals she barely looked up to wave from. And when she turned 26 and told me, "I'm grown now. You can't control me," I didn't try to control her. I just stepped back far enough to see her clearly. She thought I'd eventually cave, that some holiday or old photo album would thaw me out. But here's what she never learned. Time doesn't heal all wounds. Sometimes, it just teaches you how to stop bleeding for people who never learned to bandage you. I spent my days at the local library. Small place. Smelled like old paper and lemon cleaner. There, I scanned old film negatives, photos she never cared to look at. Her first birthday, her skin knees, her laugh when it still reached her eyes. I printed one, a black and white of her asleep on my chest in the hospital waiting room when she was 6. I mailed it to her. No note. No return address. Just a memory she forgot, that I could never let go of. 2 weeks passed. No reply. But one afternoon, a letter showed up at the library. No envelope. Just folded paper. The handwriting was nervous. I saw the photo. I cried. "I don't know what to say to you anymore. I'm scared that maybe this isn't fixable. But I do miss you." No apology. No ownership. Just fear and a flicker of reaching out. But sometimes, even the softest knock comes too late. Because by the time they learn how to speak your language, you've already stopped listening to the door. So I filed the letter beside the photo. Not out of hatred. Out of closure. Some inherit money. Some inherit land. My daughter? She inherited echoes. Thanksgiving came. No scent of stuffing. No burnt crust from my pumpkin pie recipe she always pretended to hate but secretly finished. Just a folded lawn chair on a motel balcony. And a styrofoam tray of turkey from the gas station deli. You'd think I was lonely. But peace has a flavor, too. It's quieter, sure. But it doesn't taste like resentment. She posted a picture that day, all smiles at a coworker's dinner party, holding a wine glass like she'd aged 10 years in 6 months. Caption read, "Found family, blood family." Clever. I turned the phone off. Let the snow settle on the windowsill. Let the quiet remind me that I was no longer cooking for someone who never stayed to clean up. You spend decades thinking you're building a home. Turns out, you were just renting your love to someone who never planned to renew the lease. Later that week, I visited my late wife's grave. First time in over a year. I told her everything. Told her I tried. That I held on longer than I should have. That maybe we raised a daughter who never learned the difference between rebellion and betrayal. There's a kind of pain in parenting no one warns you about. The kind where you don't lose them to death or illness. You lose them to choice, to ego, to a world that taught them that cutting off roots was a form of self-care. And that's when it hit me. I'd already said goodbye, not just to my daughter, but to the version of me who begged for crumbs at a table he built with his own hands. Back at the motel, I cleared the extra chair I'd set out without realizing, pushed it aside, folded it gently, not bitter, just final. And in that moment, the empty space across from me didn't ache anymore. It just confirmed something I'd been afraid to admit. Sometimes the only thing lonelier than sitting alone is sitting next to someone who already left you in their heart. The letter came in January. Thicker envelope. Heavier handwriting. Her scent faint on the paper, lavender and winter air. Inside 4 pages. The first line stopped me cold. I know I hurt you. Not if. Not maybe. Just truth. Finally, uncloaked. She wrote of regret. Of the nights she couldn't sleep, staring at the ceiling, wondering why silence felt louder than shouting. I thought freedom meant pushing everyone away, whoever made me feel small. But you never made me feel small. I just didn't know how to grow without stepping on you first. I sat with those words for hours. Read them once, twice, again, not because I was eager, but because I knew. This was the sound of someone turning a doorknob to a house they once burned down. She asked if I'd meet her for coffee, just to talk. No pressure. I didn't reply. Not right away. I took a walk instead, down to the old park where she used to feed ducks in a pink jacket with mittens clipped to the sleeves. The swing set still creaked like it used to. But the air? It didn't ache anymore. That's when I realized. Sometimes healing isn't about reconnection. It's about release. It's the quiet moment when you stop chasing the echo and start listening to your own breath again. I wrote her back the next day. Just 1 page. Told her I was proud of her honesty, that I hoped she finds peace. But I didn't agree to coffee. Didn't reopen the door. Because I had learned something she still might not have. Closure doesn't always come with a reunion. Sometimes it arrives like a ghost that finally stops knocking. And when it does, you don't let it back in. You just nod, wish it well, and watch it walk away, into the fog it came from. I was organizing my things one evening. Small apartment now, simpler life. 1 box labeled, keeps. Inside were memories I'd carried too long. Her crayon drawings from kindergarten. A Father's Day card where she wrote, "You're my hero," in shaky purple ink. And at the very bottom, a photo of us fishing at Lake Mille Lacs. She was 12, sunburned nose. Smiling like the world was enough just because I was beside her. That version of her, that version of me, we no longer existed. I held the photo over the trash can. Paused, then placed it gently back in the box. Because forgetting isn't always healing. Sometimes it's the remembering that makes you whole. That same week, a friend from the old neighborhood called. She's speaking at a community panel, he said. Topics about growth, redemption. She mentioned you. I didn't ask what she said. I didn't need to. What mattered wasn't the story she told others, but the one I was finally able to tell myself. That I showed up, that I gave my best years, that I loved even when I wasn't loved back the same. And that's enough. I donated most of the keepsakes to a youth center. Told them, maybe another kid needs a fresh chapter more than I need an old one. I kept only one thing, the photo, not to dwell, but to remind myself that love, even when bruised, still mattered. Somewhere out there, she's building a life. Maybe she finally found someone who teaches her how to stay. Maybe she'll never fully understand the man who walked away with a full heart and an empty chair. But I do. I know him now. He's not bitter, not broken, just free. And as I placed that photo back on the shelf, one truth settled deep in my chest. The people we raise don't owe us perfection, but they do owe us respect. And when that's gone, walking away isn't abandonment. It's self-rescue. It was a Tuesday. No holiday. No birthday. Just sky, wind, and quiet. I made coffee. Black. Same mug I'd used for 20 years. The one she gave me when she was 11. The handle was chipped. Still held everything just fine. There's something sacred about the ordinary when you stop asking it to be extraordinary. That morning, I looked out the window and realized I wasn't waiting anymore. Not for a call. Not for a visit. Not for closure wrapped in apology. Just stillness. A letter came that afternoon. Her handwriting again. But this time, I didn't open it right away. I let it sit on the table while the sun crawled across the floorboards. I made lunch. Watered the plant by the sink. Listened to the mailman whistle 2 doors down. And finally, I opened it. Inside was a photo. New ink across the old tattoo. She had covered his name. Not with flowers. Not with art. Just silence. A blank band of skin-colored ink. as if she wanted to remember the mistake, but never see it again. No note. Just the picture. No promises. Just proof. I smiled. Not because I needed her to hurt, but because she finally understood that regret doesn't need to be broadcast. It just needs to be felt, honestly, and alone. I placed the photo beside the old fishing one on my shelf. Two versions of her. Both real. Both mine to love from a distance. That evening, I sat on the porch. No aching. No hopes dangling like old wind chimes. Just air. And the soft sound of a man who finally stopped explaining his worth to people who'd never asked how he was really doing. Because sometimes the greatest revenge is peace. Not given. Not granted. Chosen.